Welcome to Behind the Citgo, where we pull back the curtain on the unseen truth of addiction recovery and talk about things most people never get a chance to see. I'm your host, Josh Torbich. Each week, we're sitting down with people who lived it, led it, and are still learning from it today. This isn't polished, it's real, it's raw, and it's noted in the faith and hope because we do recover. So whether you're in recovery, walking alongside someone who is, or just trying to understand what healing really looks like, you came to the right place. Let's dig in. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. Another episode of Behind the Citgo. Today, I'm with my friend Isaiah. Isaiah, I got to tell the folks one thing about you. The first time that I actually got to interact with how well distinguished of a person you are. I was so impressed. We went to the schools. I forget which school it was. Do you remember which school it was?
It was some crazy name. Wakama.
Okay, yeah.
What was it?
At Wakama Middle School, maybe. Okay. We rolled up in there and we were doing that presentation that we do every year for the kids.
Yeah.
And you went up to share your story, and it was the first time that I heard you. And I remember I called Dwayne after, and I said, "Hey, Dwayne, there's this guy. He's in the program right now. He came with me to share his story with the kiddos at school. He's Isaiah. We got to talk to him because he's sharp." See?
Yeah.
I was like, that was the first time that I saw you, and I was like, boom, so well presented. Yeah, but we met each other. You're traveling through the recovery program. You decided to jump in here today with us and share your story, so we appreciate you being here.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
You have a unique story. And one of the reasons that we wanted to highlight it today is because you have a very clean way of sharing. You're a young man. How old are you right now?
23.
23 years, though. You've been through more.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I don't know. What do you think?
43.
43. I was about to say, it's like dog years.
Yeah.
But I mean, the real key thing, and today we captured it inside of the podcast episode title, it's 14 and locked up. Mm-hmm. Because at 14 years old, you found yourself in jail, and then that ended up leading into multiple different episodes of incarceration and then eventually recovery programs. But that's not where I want to start.
Okay.
Because we've talked about this a little bit passively before, but your early childhood years left you in a space that it was almost preemptive to this type of situation. What are some of those key factors that influenced your early childhood years that kind of set the stage for this type of turmoil in your life?
Yeah, so those key factors from my childhood, I would say definitely being raised by a single mom and watching that struggle, having my mom be my mom and my dad growing up. There's a lot of things that I couldn't come to her with, and a lot of things that made me feel like I would have to either suppress certain feelings so that I could be, quote unquote, the man of the house, and grow up at a really young age is what it essentially forced me to do. And when you run into people who have to, quote unquote, grow up at a young age, when they have to grow up at a young age in a environment like downtown Charlotte, it's not always a good story. You know, I chased after family and community and things that I shouldn't have looked for. And I looked for unity and gangs and selling drugs, and then eventually taking the drugs and being around people like that. You know, at 13, 14, I was hanging out with high school dropouts. To jump back a little bit, I got pulled out of school when I was 7 because there was a lot of bullying going on, and it wouldn't stop because this is downtown Charlotte. It's Mary Oaks Elementary to be exact. They're much better now. But my mom, she tried to come and put her foot down, but she was the woman of the household. So it'd be much different if a father could have came in and said, "Hey, this is happening with my son," but it didn't go down that way. So she pulled me out of school. I didn't have the opportunity to go back to school. We were in between houses, stayed in the car from time to time. It was a rough upbringing just to be with mom. But what I will say, mom was my home. No matter what, mom was my home. If we didn't have somewhere to go, I would think about mom, and mom was my home. Were the cards dealt the right way? I wouldn't say they were dealt the best, but I wouldn't go back and change any of it. But if that answers your question,
yeah, wow.
Best about the.
I mean, even on the sentiment, though, that you wouldn't change any of it, it's really difficult. One of the things that a lot of folks don't understand around the epidemic that we're experiencing with drugs and alcohol is how drastically it's removed fathers from the home. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that was the case with your father, I can't remember, but him being absent kind of, it circulates that family dynamic of absentee fatherism. And to what you're describing, we see that traveling through our programs all the time.
Yeah.
Because of how influential. Actually, one of the things I remember you saying to me when you start working here on our team with us was like, bro, I'm really excited to be around some role models, some male role models who are trying to be something better than what they are.
Yeah.
Like just seeing that in play was, do you remember that comment?
I remember. Do you remember me coming out and making a comment? You were walking your truck. It was probably about like 2 weeks I was into the program, but I would watch you on your Mondays that you would come and give your sermons, right? And I came out and I stopped you and I said, Josh, I just want to let you know, you might not know me. I've seen you in F3 a few times, but I look up to you. I'm sure you hear that a lot. And you told me I don't hear that a lot, and it means a lot to me.
Yeah.
That was my first, you saw me at the school. That was my first moment where I really engaged. And to go back to the father thing, I've never known my father. On my birth certificate, it says XXX.
Wow.
And that hurt when I read that. At first I didn't care, I don't know my dad. But when I saw that, then I started thinking, I'd see your videos of what you do with LJ, and I'm like, dang, is that what it is to have like a good father? Is that what it is to have somebody who really cares and someone who's invested in your life? I'd see the guys here. I'd see how excited Dwayne would get about finally being able to see his son. And it would hit me like, dang, was I supposed to have those things? That's when it kind of comes back and hits me now too,
And traveling through your young years, those really impactful, let's just say, late elementary school, early middle school years. Because, that bubble is where we see most of the young folks where they're starting to choose their path. They're either going to start leading towards a more reckless place, or they're the young folks are kind of losing their innocence at that 10, 11, 12. They're starting to dabble into the peer pressure aspect of things. A father, positive male figure in your life can keep that train on the tracks by paying attention. And it's a major disadvantage not to have that guidepost, especially in a way that's relational, where you trust them, and that he's doing the right job by you. So if you were to put it out there, would you say that that's one of the key pieces that was, missing inside of that dynamic while you're growing up that led you into a more reckless lifestyle?
Consistently, yes. I needed it consistently, because I won't lie and say that there were men time to time that would try to step in, but if it's not consistent, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, so you were winding up for something where you started to kind of dabble in those years. And before we get to the age of 14, where you experienced your first incarceration, what did the toe in the water look like? Can you remember what?
Give me a better. Would you describe that better?
Whenever you're just starting to dabble, when you're just before
I jump off the porch.
Yeah, if diving all the way in is incarceration at 14, what did it look like when you just started messing around with drugs, with alcohol, with the negative side of that peer influence?
That could be a whole episode by itself.
Yeah.
But to put it in a nutshell, let's see, different things like stealing my mom's cigarettes was the first one. The rush that gave me, just taking them out. She would hide them under her car seat because she knew I started to steal them. So just the rush from going and sneaking and grabbing some cigarettes out from under her car seat. Then getting into weed and putting some weed in her cigarettes and like trying to hide that from her.
Taking the top of the tobacco out and dropping a little bit. Been there, done that.
See, well, have you been here? I would put on latex gloves to try and hide the smell from her.
To make sure she couldn't smell your fingers later.
Because she'd grab my hands and let me smell you.
Let me smell.
That's what she do to me when I came in.
Yeah, so no smell there. You thought you were smart.
Yeah, I thought I was smart. Yeah, definitely wasn't smart. Things like that. Then I got a little wild, stealing beers and Four Locos from the Quick Trip because they have a no chase policy. So just walking out with 24 packs in both hands.
Wow.
Like it was that really got me into the more criminal side of my substance use disorder. It was never really a criminal in me. I wanted to chase this feeling. I wanted to be able to get drunk or get high. Another one was feelings. If I wanted to talk to a girl, I had to be drunk. I had to be high on weed. inevitable for guys. I think that's a thing, you know, you get
your
drunk.
skin doesn't fit. You feel insecure about it.
Exactly. You know, I drink a couple beers and hey, I can talk to any girl in the world.
Casanova.
So that's how that's how it started. In Carowinds, I'm from Charlotte. Carowinds is right there on the border of North and South Carolina. So that was my weekends. My mom would let me go to Carowinds. We would steal some alcohol on the way, get drunk, start smoking some weed, and that slowly led into exploring different things like poppy seed tea and then opium and pills and Molly and cocaine until I started experimenting with everything. And that's where it really altered my trajectory from the life that the Lord really had for me.
Wow. Okay. So you're now, it's more than a toe in the water with all of that. You're kind of got your whole leg hanging off of it.
Yeah.
What happened? You collided with the law and it ended up with you incarcerated. Tell me about that.
Okay. So that actually fits in perfect with what I was just talking about. So there was a night that I mixed a lot of those things together. And I think you can understand this from your past also. I had no moderation.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know, take some Adderall. I'd be too dialed in. I need a drink. Too drunk. I need to dial back in. I'll do some coke.
Mm-hmm.
Too up. I need to do some Xanax. So it was like there was a night where I did a lot of different, probably about 4 or 5 different pretty dangerous substances, different color pressed Xanaxes, different hydrocodones, smoked a bunch of weed, drank a lot of Four Locos, and that alcohol on top of the drugs that I did essentially made me overdose in a Quick Trip parking lot. When they brought me back to, they were just trying to help me, but I saw blue lights and I had just stolen alcohol from the Quick Trip like I was telling you about.
Wow.
And so I got up and I tried to run, and I had this insane experience as I jumped the fence behind the Quick Trip, busted my leg, ran down into the woods. I fall backwards, like I feel my heart, it's racing, but then it slows down. Then it starts racing and then it slows down and I can feel it and I'm trying to breathe and I grab onto a tree. I go to fall backwards and a hand goes in the center of my back and shoves me so hard forward that I have to try to catch myself. I turn around and there is nobody behind me. Police screaming in the distance, still trying to find me in the woods. There's nobody behind me. I don't share that often.
Wow.
But that was one of my first experiences where it was like, okay, you're not going to die. There's something better out there for you. Get up and go. And that immediately made me go, come to the sound of my voice. I went to the police after that because it gives me chills to talk about it right now. When that happened, it shook everything out of me. It sobered me up.
Yeah. So that you're saying that you, in your experience, you believe that was a hand of the divine.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
You know, the hand of God, an angel, something was interacting with you in a way that shook you up in that moment.
100%.
And it made you do a 180. And instead of run, you went
straight to the police, went straight to jail. Yeah.
Wow.
And they weren't going to take me to jail, but they saw how tore up I was.
Yeah.
And they were like, he needs to dry out. So they took me there. Yeah,
so they took you to the drunk tank and
So at under 18, you have to go. You can't really. It's not like adult jail, so you can't go and dry out. They have to arrest you for something. So it was public disorderly conduct. I had to go sit there for 2 weeks, but they would rather me sit there for 2 weeks than me go and get back on something and mess around and actually die. So that's how that unfolded. And at 14, 2 weeks was a very long time in juvie.
Bro, that's a long time.
For me.
Well, 2 weeks in jail is a long time.
Yeah.
The food ain't that great.
Oh, man, no, Alpo.
That's what I say. I love the folks who check into the program here who are coming like after spending some significant time judicially.
It's golden.
They look around and they're like, bro, this place is awesome.
Yeah. Seconds, thirds, snack.
What do you mean we get snacks and more food? What do you mean we can go up and fill our plate? Yeah, that's a win, man. Yeah, so you finished, you entered jail. What did mom say?
So mom was there and she was trying to call. I don't remember any of this stuff except for falling over the fence after they woke me up, the hand pushing me and just walking back to the police. But mom was hurt. Mom tried not to let me see her cry. And that was one of the few times that she did let me see her cry because there was nothing she could do for her baby.
Wow.
And I'm sure that she had feelings of failure in parenting me. There was people around her, you know, since I wasn't in school. And by the time I was 14 and she tried to get me back into school, I I was 14. I had already done years without going to school. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'll tell her, yeah, I'll do this paperwork and I'm going to go smoke my spliffs with her cigarettes. So mom was very hurt, I think, and nervous and had a lot of feelings that I probably just couldn't describe. But I'm sure the parents out there with problem children could definitely describe much better.
There is a certain amount. If you're an adult, and I'll just say this because I'm working with a family right now, and there's a little bit of turmoil between the adults in the dynamic. They've reached out to me, and I'm working with mom and dad. They're having their own issues, and one of them is struggling with addiction themselves. But they reached out to me on behalf of their 14-year-old. Mm-hmm. And when you're working with someone like that, it's so difficult for families who are already experiencing complications at the adult level to turn to the attention of the young person. And you kind of do get to that place where you're like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. Like help my child. I don't even know how next steps to help myself might look. And that is like one of the most frustrating places I can imagine for parents to be. Like these two, the mom and dad I'm working with now, they're really struggling with like what they do with themselves. And then that translates into now we see our young person having a hard time what to do with them. So when you left, was jail any sort of an awakening, or did it just kind of hit you? You had that divine moment. Mm-hmm. You landed in there for a couple weeks. That's definitely miserable.
Terrible.
Was that a pivot for you in any way? Did you take a pause for the cause and kind of dry out for a bit, or did you jump right back in?
Love that word. Definitely took a pause for the cause. Yep. Okay. Definitely took a pause.
Tell the folks what that means, pause for the cause. It's like, I'm not committed to getting well, but I need to lay low for a little bit.
Yeah. I would say for that age and for me, that pause for the cause was the cause of just fear of like, okay, I don't want to go back there.
Scared straight.
Yeah. Like I touched something, got burnt, but I might've been scared crooked because it wasn't straight yet. Because, I went back several times.
Just a little bell curve.
Yeah. Okay. Just a little. Yeah. So definitely, that wasn't fun at all.
So after that though, you quickly found yourself back making reckless decisions.
Yeah. I was out for about a month, maybe a month and a half before I slipped up. And that people, places, and thing, it sounds cliche, but man, it's so true. I've got a mentor of mine. He tells me you're only as good as the energy you subject yourself to. And at the time I was subjecting myself to I still wanted to hang out with girls. So that was a downfall. I still had the homeboys that I went to hang out with those girls with. I had
just the lifestyle.
Just the lifestyle, and so I got out, and very soon, I would say a month is not long. And it's always been that way for me. I get out, sustain for about a month to a month and a half, and I would have those thoughts come in, and I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know what a support network looked like. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what healthy people in my life looked like. And so at that time, I just had to keep touching the stove until I was burnt enough to be scared straight.
Wow. Yeah. So over the course of how many years would you be arrested? How many times? And then when was your last time?
Ooh, okay. That's a big question. Over the course of how many years would I be arrested? And when was my last time? How many times? I probably, honestly, it'd take me a second to think about just how many times.
Let's just throw a number.
So how many years? I would say from 14 up until from 14 to 20, I would say probably over 10 times I was arrested. Wow. I might have been locked up 8 of those times.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a series of being locked up.
That's really significant.
It is. Yeah, if I'm going to be real with you, I spent, to give you some preface, my mom is my legal guardian. She was drugged. She got high with my birth person. So I've never met my birth mom, my actual biological mom either, but my mom is mom to me. But I was never in foster care, but I was in a system for the majority of my childhood.
Wow.
So from 14 going to jail, then getting out of there, they sent me to a rehab in Carrollton, Georgia, or they sent me to a military school in Oneida, Kentucky. Got kicked out for getting drunk after 2 weeks. Brought me back to Charlotte, took me to a rehab in Carrollton, Georgia for 6 months. I spent 6 months after doing 2 weeks in jail, 2 weeks in this military school and getting kicked out. Spent 6 months, and at 14 to turn 15 in a rehab,
Yeah.
Think about that, turning 15 in rehab.
Yeah.
I didn't think I had a problem. At that point, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get out and do what I want. And to be honest with you, that cycle continued. So it was probably 10 different arrests, 8 different incarceration periods, with 2.5 years in prison being the longest one. Several months in rehab. Yeah, it wasn't fun.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about that, and the last time you were that's a lot. I mean, that's really significant, spending that much time engaged judicially, or even in like what you would consider pre-adult years intervention style methods, the recovery programs or the early intervention programs that you were a part of.
Yeah.
What was there? What was the catalyst? Because something finally changed, and you were saying 20, right?
Yeah.
So 20, you were arrested. Did you know was there a sign that was going to be different this time, that you were going to leave that incarceration experience to take it more seriously and try to reshape your future?
There was, yeah. When I heard prison, it about scared me straight.
Okay.
Yeah. When I heard prison, when I went in, I finally realized that there was only one thing and one person who could come and meet me in that space. And that was the Lord. That's where I started to develop a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Was when it hit me. Like, I was just walking laps outside one day, and I cried out. I was like, I need help. Like, I don't have anybody to talk to. I don't have anybody to go to. And he was there for me, and that allowed me to, in that space, be very vulnerable and very open, and not have this attitude of like, oh, I'm big and bad, and have to feel like I have to carry myself any type of way for certain people. And that got me through those 2 years very safe, very, I hate to use this word, I use it really lightly, but comfortable. I made the decision when I went in there, it wasn't going to be a waste of time. I wasn't going to go in there and gangbang and get into a bunch of fights and different stuff like that would initially extend my time, because that's a possibility. You go to prison, you can get your time extended.
Yeah. So you were like, something in you, after exploring the idea of who Christ needs to be, and you started to say, you know what, I think of like when I hear stories like this, I think of the prodigal son. And this is the version that I love the most of the exchange between himself, what he's thinking and what his current situation is. But he's kind of sitting in the pig pen, and he's looking around, and he's like, bro, this is garbage. Like, this sucks. And he starts replaying like all of the things that he's supposed to be right now. I'm supposed to be in my Father's house. Even the folks who work there were treated better than what's going. Like, he starts kind of redesigning his identity right there, but he's still surrounded by the mud, So, but there's this thing that he says, and he's like, he came to his senses. And I do believe that is what Christ, through the Holy Spirit, intervening on guys like me and you at some point, because I've talked to so many people, they have similar catalyst type experiences like what we're describing right now, that something touched them. Yeah. It's not like angels, everyone's looking for like a big sign or like, what's the big story?
Right.
Like, angels never parted the ceiling and hovered above my bed, but I did get a little touch. And it started to make me come to my senses. Like, bro, what are you doing? What are you thinking? And you're surrounded by the mud, and you're like, do I really want to live like this? Is that kind of what you felt coming out of you in that experience?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So when you left that time, you avoided the prison sentence?
Avoided the prison sentence.
You were saying when you heard prison, it really tightened you up.
Yeah, no. So when I got sentenced, let me reiterate. When I heard that I was going to prison,
wow.
When I heard, okay, that's not something in the cards, that's happening.
Okay.
Like, okay, I'm going, because I was supposed to get rehab. I was supposed to get to go to a rehab called Rebound or Ground 40.
Yeah.
And it didn't end up happening. They didn't let me go. I don't know if it was something with my public defender or judge, but when it hit me out of nowhere, I heard prison, I turned around and my mom started crying. Wow. And that was to turn around and see my mom crying, and to walk back through those doors knowing that I got a few years of time to go do, and time around some dangerous people who are in there for life, who are willing to do anything to take care of themselves. it really scared me and woke me up.
Wow.
It really matured me quick.
So how much time did you end up spending in prison?
A little over 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
man.
and that was I led into that by doing 6 months in jail. So I did 6 months in jail and then went and did those 2 years.
2 years in prison.
Yeah, and the jail time was worse because
All right.
you're in one cell the entire.
Everyone says
24 and 1. Yeah, 23.
Yeah, I've
and
never
1.
been to prison, but I know jail was miserable.
Jail was worse than
Yeah.
prison.
So think about this: when you're fast forwarding and you're
Right.
getting to that exit, and let's just say prison's not exactly the environment to redeem your life often. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you're not going to find many people who are truly trying to navigate into a better path.
Correct.
They say that a lot of folks do become better criminals when they're in prison.
A lot of folks, they do a lot of studying, but something that's really funny is I got an award, a leadership award in prison.
Did you tell me about that?
Dude, so I actually have it. It's they made a certificate for me. It was really cool. Some people came down from Central Prison, which is in Raleigh. And so on my time in prison, they'll send you to different camps. And so my start out camp, I processed in Salisbury in what's called the high rise. That can get a little dangerous and a little nerve wracking because you're in there with different people from different rivalry gangs and different stuff like that. Then I got sent to Lumberton. I did Dark Cherry program. It's another rehab program.
Yeah.
Enjoyed that a lot. Those where things were really clicking. Like I was understanding, okay, I have an issue. Like I have an issue with my thought process. I have an issue with drugs and alcohol. I have an issue with decision-making skills. And so from there, they sent me to Richmond Correctional. And at Richmond Correctional is really where I flourished in prison. I know that sounds kind of funny, but what I did was I really locked in. Richmond was a school camp. So it was really crazy because it's a bunch of young, young hotheads. They make prison what they want it to be.
Right.
And that can be very dangerous. They have knives. They have weapons. There's drugs in prison. They make alcohol, buck in prison. Everything's in there. Stuff gets over the wall. Like, it's inevitable. It's going to happen.
Right.
You know, you can't hold it back from people who are going to be in there for the rest of their life.
Right.
But to go back towards my point, it was a school camp. So I told you I got pulled out of school when I was 7. Nothing else since then. By the grace of God, I learned how to read, write, spell a little bit. I still struggle with spelling. AI helps me out a little bit.
Struggle with spelling. You know,
spell. Yeah. So all jokes aside.
Poor Dwayne, anytime I'm typing up a document, Dwayne's coming behind me fixing on those live
Trust me, I remember.
Fixing all the misspellings.
Yeah.
Because Dwayne can spell. Dwayne spells good.
Yeah, hey, Dwayne's locked in.
Yeah,
he's locked in. But it was a school camp. And so they gave me the opportunity to start with the GED. And off rip, I mean, studied for about a month, passed reading, another month, writing, social studies, science. I had math left. I hated math. Math is different than spelling. It's different than writing things. It's different than reading and comprehending and putting thoughts together. Hated math. That was a whole beast of its own. So I passed the majority of my high school equivalent in there. And so they had me be teacher's aide. They created a TA position in prison. And so I was teacher's aide for the teachers that were in the GED program, the HiSET program in the prison. Alongside that, I started taking the CDL truck driver training program. I passed that with flying colors and became TA for him too. And so every morning it was like I got up and I had a job.
That's crazy.
It's insane what the Lord did for me.
That's really cool.
He also allowed me to mediate between different people who would get into, hey, we need you to go talk to him and him because they're wilding out. We just need you to keep them calm. And these are people who later on might literally go try to stab each other in the neck. I mean, it was serious. People who get flown out of the prison, people who have to get sent to it was really serious. The fact that the Lord gave me peace. Yeah. That's another thing a mentor told me. If you can't find anything, if you can't hear from the Lord, find peace because he's peace.
You also found kind of a mission.
I did 100%.
Yeah. They say that, the idle hands thing. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that, why a lot of folks probably find themselves not necessarily reforming in prison or jails is because there's so much idle hand time, sleeping all day and then wake up and going to make up whatever you can do to entertain yourself. There's like a boredom factor. So faith has kind of fully entered your story, and God has he's really kind of started to design a path of redemption for you by giving you a mission, even giving you, it sounds like, some people who were looking to invest in you while you could invest in other people.
Correct.
So you're leaving, you're checking out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's an exciting day.
It is.
Where do you go?
So I leave from there and go to a program that helps justice-involved individuals called LINK, Leading into New Communities out in Wilmington.
Yep.
They also played a role in referring me here, but we can kind of skip past that part. But I go to LINK. It's like a halfway house. And when you leave prison, you're in whites. You're in white pants and a gray shirt.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm in my prison whites standing on the side of Market Street. And Market Street ain't nothing sweet down in Wilmington.
Not exactly inconspicuous.
Yeah. Like, I'm in my prison whites with the clear bag. With prison document, with a bunch of papers and, like, some ramen noodle soups in it. Everyone driving down the street knows where and some bright white shoes. Everyone knows where hey, you just got off the yard.
Yeah.
I'm like, Yeah. Like, I'm trying to stay incognito, but it's like,
not been a little bit of time. It's 2.5 years. You're looking at the world for the first time.
Exactly. Yeah. It was very nerve-wracking. My parole officer had came to pick me up from the prison and dropped me off at the halfway house down in Wilmington. And honestly, it was a lot of emotions. I was very anxious. I was very overstimulated. I was very nervous. I was very scared. For what was next. I had created a brotherhood while I was there. Yeah. And it was a bittersweet leaving, but it was time for my path and that season to change. And an issue I made or a mistake I made was I tried to do the same thing that worked for me in the season of prison, which was quiet time at 6 a.m. every single morning, no matter what, in the season of freedom. And what works for you in one season, I learned the hard way, doesn't work for you in all seasons. And that slowly but surely, once I had gotten out, I became a house manager of one of the recovery houses for LINK. I was up their poster boy. I was doing videos for him. I was doing pictures and stuff for him for LINK. And eventually I turned 21 in prison. So I was like, I got to buy alcohol for the first time.
You felt like you missed it.
I felt like I missed out. That thought of missing out.
It's the crux of the young person, man.
It is.
I got sober at 23.
Yeah.
And I can really vibe with this because I remember thinking to myself, bro, they never want, like, heroin's my problem, but they expect me never to party again. They expect me never to drink alcohol again.
Yeah.
I know, bro, it gets us.
I had never been to a club.
Yeah. See? Okay. So
I thought I missed everything. I was like, there's no way.
Yeah. You started trying to figure out how to get that thing back. You got to have the experience. It's the lie from the enemy, isn't it?
It is. It's the crack that he can slip through. It's the one crack that he can slip through he found, and he did. So
you went and threw down. You went and partied.
So initially I went out, I had about 6 months left on parole. I had been out for 3 months before I started having those thoughts of that, the idea of, I missed out. And so I pushed him out for like the first 3 months. But unfortunately, like you said, that thing changed while I was in there. But obviously, I still had some reservations inside that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And I think that that's good for people to understand, to make sure that you don't do things that you have no expectations, no reservations inside for what you're going to do going forward. Wow. If it's going to be anything negative around people, because that same thought of missing out on that life, it was the thought of missing out on 19, 20, 21 of females.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, I haven't been able
I knew you were going there. I know.
I haven't been able to talk to or be with a girl from this age to this age. And this was our main purpose when I was this age. So that really sent me off the ringer. And so I started going out, and my AA sponsor, I was just about to pick up a year and a half.
Wow.
It was Saturday night. The next Sunday, that next morning, I was going to the healing place to one of their noon meetings, and I was gonna pick up my year and a half, my 18-month chip. And the night before, a coworker of mine, and this is that people, places, and things, he's like, hey, we're gonna go to the Real Calf downtown. I was like, cool. And I had gone out a few times previously because I just wanted to go out. And my AA sponsor, he said, if you sit in the barbershop long enough, you're gonna get a haircut. Yeah. And I said, yeah, well, I just want to see the environment. I want to talk to the girls. I eventually got a haircut. It was that night I got a haircut, and that was very.
The haircut came quickly.
That haircut came way quicker than I expected, and before you know it, I was drinking for the next 2 or 3 months. Finally got off parole, and was shortly after I got off parole, was really drunk one night and had somebody's phone number for some other substances, and just slowly and then quickly plowed straight back down.
Yeah, it's amazing how quick, like it could take you 6 years to spiral out of control completely the first time. But then when you relapse and you go back to it, it's like it happened. It's like, damn.
You pick off worse than you ended.
Yeah, right where you left off. And it just perpetuates so fast, man.
Correct. Yeah.
So you quickly spiraled out of control. First time it took you years. That's really true. And then this time, though, it took you a few months to get really stuck again. Yeah.
Well, it took me probably 90 days to be homeless in my car.
Wow, man.
Yeah, in Wilmington. In the cold, I was homeless in my car. I remember right around November is when I was homeless in my car. And I made a decision that I forever will apologize and be broken before the Lord because of making. I had burnt every bridge that I had. I had sat at the gas station and texted my mom, and I had told her goodbye. I told her I loved her. I said, I love you. You did amazing. And the decisions that I've made and the decisions that I'm making are not an effect of like your mothering, your parenting. I said, you're an amazing mother. You'll always be my home. And that was my goodbye to her, because 5 minutes after that, I went and parked in a parking lot and took everything I had on me, which was about an 8-ball of coke, about 30 pills, about 20 ecstasy pills, and just started drinking a handle of Hennessy. And so I overdosed. Thankfully, they were able to get me to the hospital. Someone found me in the parking lot, but they got me to the hospital, pumped my stomach. But beforehand, they had called the girl that I'm so blessed to still have in my life right now. She was my emergency contact because I didn't really have anybody. But they called her to, she was my emergency contact. They called her to notify her what was going on, make sure I was who I was. And a few minutes after, they pumped my stomach, got me back up and going. And that was really where like the hand of God had intervened. From there, my journey with Christian Recovery Center started shortly after.
Come on in. The water's fine.
Yep. So that was a huge one for me. And it still is. And that, I will say, is what allows me to remain broken before the Lord and stay humble with him.
Just remembering that spot.
Remembering like, how dare I? You give me and you've given me, so I don't care how the cards were dealt.
Okay.
I was raised in a mindset of like Value Village and Goodwill is Neiman Marcus and Gucci to me. Some busted Heelys or rollerblades is for a normal, quote unquote, normal kid, a go-kart or a dirt bike. I was raised to be content with what I have. It talks about that in the Bible.
Yeah.
Being content with little,
You found that again through this process.
I did.
And you, again, one of the things you said in the very beginning, but you also found peace again.
I did, yeah.
And that girl you were talking about, she's still a big part of your life.
She's a huge part of my life, yeah.
Yep.
She is.
So tell us now, though, because you're very much post the recovery program.
Yeah, yes.
We had to emotionally headlock you to come visit us from your home in Leland. Right?
Yeah.
You stay in Leland.
Yeah.
So we headlocked you to come up here and talk to us. But today you get to play a very big role in still contributing what's all good to the society. Tell us about that with the kids.
With the kids. So today I work for a nonprofit called Voyage Wilmington. That's out in Wilmington, hence the name Voyage Wilmington. It's an amazing job. So from interning with Christian Recovery Centers and having that great opportunity to do the LDI program, I learned so much from being in here, let alone the admin side of things, learning things from C. Lee and Mr. Spellcheck Dwayne. I was able to learn a lot of tools. God, so many tools that made things a lot easier, that took a lot of that pit of like, what do I do? That stress that drove me to drink or think about drinking or drugging. it removed that void of like where you feel like you can't get that breath. So all of those tools, I was able to apply those same tools in an opportunity that the Lord opened up for me. My mentor said, "Hey, I might have a job proposition for you." And I met with the director of he had me meet with the director of Voyage. We sat down. She liked me. And so thankfully that opened up a door for me to do case management. And my label is case manager and community resource coordinator for the schools in New Hanover County, the high schools, wow, the middle schools, I think we do K through all the way up to 19 or maybe even 21 we serve. Yeah, some of our clients are even 21. They're post our school program, and we still help them with different things. But those are kids that are from the lower income. Which this is terrible. I should have known this because I worked for them. But they work with a certain amount of square foot of housing. They're direct people they work with, our clients we serve. Their household income, the majority is under $15,000 a year.
Wow.
Is that not insane?
That is insane. So
when I read that, and I was doing research on the place that I work for, because I care, because I'm genuinely invested. I do things after I'm off the clock because I'll have clothes that don't fit me anymore. I'll take them to the clients that I have that I know will like them, and they're fresh and new to them, just like the things that I used to love. But to be so invested, I'm reading this and I'm like, wow, 14, 15,000 a year is their household income.
Yeah.
And they've got 2 or 3 kids. Obviously, now I see why they're going through it. Now I see why and then it hit me as I'm working with them. The kids that can't sit still, the kids that are always in their head. I'm like, man, that was me. Mm-hmm. Gosh, that was me. I see a 7, 8-year-old. I'm like, this was like right around the time where I got pulled out. What can I do to keep this kid from getting pulled out of school? Wow. It really hits me. Then the teenagers, those are a whole different story, man. When you get the family, you were talking about a 14-year-old, that's why that hit home. When you get into that teen, when you get to like 13, 14, if it's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love what I get to do there now.
You got your mission back.
I do. Yeah. 1,000%.
You found one of the things that kept you moving in a positive direction in prison was accountability, people to work with, and a joint mission. And you kind of found that in life again. So one question, is for me, when I think about this, is like, what is your recovery process looking like today? Tell me about what recovery for Isaiah looks like today. I would love to tell you about it because I love to talk about this for me. But I will say, I will emphasize what you just said was for Isaiah. Because just like and we all know in this room, recovery looks different for everybody. Mm-hmm. Sustaining recovery for you might look like a night and day difference than it does for me. You got some people who I don't agree with. You got some people who green is clean. You got some people who can drink. I just don't function like that. I just can't. It doesn't work for me. But it just shows you that there's a night and day difference between everyone's recovery. Mm-hmm. And recovery doesn't just mean from drugs and alcohol. Recovery can be from a multitude of different things. Yeah, just anything and that's a great comment that most people through the evolution of that personal improvement commitment. I know a lot of folks, especially males, pornography. Yeah, 1,000%. Something that they really zero in on. Or relationships with people, trying to make sure that they enter those relationships with class, that they can maintain meaningful relationships with folks. Right, codependency. Okay. Huge one. Getting into things just because you need to be with someone. There you go. Codependency is a huge one. There's several issues, and I think people get so psyched out when they hear recovery. Oh, I didn't do drugs, or I don't have a problem. Hey, look, recovery, you can recover from anything. So sustaining my recovery is a huge thing, and it changes from day to day. It looks different all the time for me. But what worked in one season, and this is that lesson that I got taught, that the seasons change. Mm-hmm. And the way that I look at my recovery and the way that I operate in my recovery also has to change with it. But what I will say is I have this prayer that I asked. I read something in the Bible. I'm paraphrasing and I can't pull it directly from it. I wish I could. But it says something along the lines of, he's talking about so-and-so stayed very humble within this one thing. And so the Lord spoke and you might know what I'm talking about, but the Lord spoke directly to him instead of in riddles or parables or illustrations because he was so humble. And I read that and I was just praying. I was talking to the Lord one day
And it came out like out loud. I was talking to him and it came out and I said, Lord, keep me humble in my recovery. Keep me humble in my relationships so that I can hear directly from you when I ask, hey, what do I do about this? Hey, which route should I take?
Wow.
Hey, how should I say this to this person? Hey, how should I operate in this relationship to be a faithful leader one day?
Wow.
Hey, how should I operate in my own everyday individual life so I can be who I need to be for everyone around me? And keep me humble in doing that so that you can speak to me directly when I ask those questions, Lord, please. And when I started saying that prayer, he speaks directly to me. It's not a question of whether I should or shouldn't do this or whether I should or shouldn't do, because in leaving the program, I had put so much, this program is very structured. And I had put I had made the mistake of, okay, I don't need to make any decisions. And it wasn't a mistake. I needed to fully engulf myself in the recovery aspects of this program. And I did it. But when it came time to start making my own decisions, I was still a little bit scared because I knew my decisions didn't work for so long. Mm-hmm. And going through AA got me sober a few times. But that's not what I do now to sustain my recovery. Some people, it's just like what I was saying. That's what works for them. But going through that program, in my mind, it was always like, it's either my way or the highway. It's either you're going to do it this way and it's going to work, or there's no other way to do it. And so from hearing in those rooms a lot, the
things that I really hear you saying that I'm interested in is that you had to find out exactly what you were supposed to commit yourself to directly and indirectly. Mm-hmm. Like you had obligations that were in front of you for your next step, and then the second step, and then the third step. And as that kind of changed, the way that life drew expectations from you, you had to figure out what your new circle looked like and how all that worked. One of the things I'll say is I enjoy seeing you plug back in here. Yeah. Even though you're 30 minutes away, I'll come out the door, be on the telephone, and see you walking into the residence wing with a pack of Pepsi or something for the guys. Or I see you at church on Sundays with that very special lady of yours. Yeah. So, I mean, there's that whole dynamic that you've kind of found yourself caught up in where you've stayed true to what you need to invest in. And that's important for folks like us. Mm-hmm. What do you think about you go see yourself at 13? And what would you say to them?
Slow down. Yeah, I'd tell them slow down. Yeah, a lot of the things that I was trying to do is because I wanted to grow up quick. I wanted to get a girlfriend quick. I wanted to be around cool people and like have the nice, clean, shiny things. I wanted to have the nice new car or motorcycle or Louis Vuitton shoes, or, I was just chasing all this stuff. Really it was all worldly. Wow. Everything that I was chasing was fleeting, and I needed to slow down. Wow. I needed to slow down and I needed to listen.
It's good advice. You might find yourself giving that to the kids you get to work with today. Yeah. I got to tell you something.
Thanks, buddy. I'm proud of you too. I'm proud of you too. I like that.
So yeah, I just get to say, I could see him walking across the campus. Look, I just get to go. Proud of you. See, I am proud of you, man.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy to see that you found a landing spot. And you know what we're doing over here for you? Yeah. Beating on our chest, cheering you on.
I know.
And that I'm so happy to see you invested the way that you are. And more importantly, I'm happy to hear you. Maybe this platform is a perfect opportunity for people to glean from your story something that they need today, the parents and the kids' version of it.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming to share it.
Of course.
Thank you for joining us. Another episode Behind the Citgo. Been with my friend Isaiah today. We talked about 14 and locked up and the entire process of his journey and how that looked today. We will see you next time.